council looking at bringing forward land for development, it's not a coherent strategy, and I can see that happening.
I think the only thing I'd add to that, and the only point I'd make is that don't let lack of funding be a barrier. We're actually using our own cash to privately fund some of these initiatives, so it doesn't necessarily involve an upfront cash investment from the adopter of the service, and it doesn't have to involve cash input from the government or from whoever. We're actually investing in these schemes ourselves.
Well, that should go on the website.
Yeah. But I think the problem, sorry, just I think part of the problem as well is as long as the money that's made available is subject to the state aid rules, then it's only ever going to be BT that are in the frame to do the work. I mean, I know that firsthand, Mackie knows that firsthand. We've been told that by politicians locally. So, I think the reality is for us.
So Brendan, are you saying that if the Vale and the Vale4Business we're doing something to try and help a scheme get off the ground, such as town centres, then the state aid rules may kick in there?
If the money's made available, if it's government money that's made available, then yeah, it'd be state aid rules. Or if it's European money that's made available, it'd be state aid rules.
Can I just say that Northamptonshire District Council launched a scheme to address the underserved in Northamptonshire, which is over half the county by geography, called Access to Finance, and it's specifically targeted at how do you deploy more money more efficiently to get commercial companies to invest alongside themselves, but outside state aid rules. So using the rules that allow them to make commercial investments, and it's a public scheme now, so you can have a look at all the work they've already done to sort of lead the way on that. But that's an option, I think, that quite a lot of counties and districts will be looking at over the next year, as to how do you make your money go further alongside private companies, including BT, who are willing to invest their own money to achieve particular ends, and get a return for your ratepayers as opposed to give a grant.
It's an interesting point actually, because I think I want to ask a very open-ended question to everybody now. One of the things I find fascinating about the whole broadband thing is whose problem is it? Who should be fixing it? Is it, is it the government? Is it BT? Is it private enterprise? Is it landlords? I don't know what people generally think, but it is a bit of a melting pot. There you go. I thought that. Happy note.
Yeah, if the problem had a home, then that's where we resolve, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is you no longer have a state-run core network in this country. It's being deregulated.
Yeah.
BT are a commercial organisation, you might keep it there, or like we are.
Yeah, so the market's
so in answer to your question, it's everyone's problem.
Yeah, and that's back to your point about that, that it's going to just, if we're not careful, just really polarise. Because particularly, example, I think I'm right in saying that the Broadband UK piece has got, there's a percentage of the UK that the government's committed to enabling with sort of like 90% or 97%. But yeah, I don't know quite what that means.
No, they haven't gone to 97% yet.
No, the target is.
Right.
The 90%, they've already put money up for 90% so far.
Yeah.
And I think the current estimate is it will get slightly beyond that. But they're talking about investing some
that's
more.
That's the capital, that's population, so there's absolutely no target set against business and residential.
So those are quite big that target. Yeah, and have big pockets in Oxfordshire outside of that main artery that are going to be really poorly served. So
I think my perspective is, I think you have to basically, you've got two choices. You're either going to live with the situation and the impact on your business, and you may be lucky enough to have a business that isn't dependent, or alternatively, you have to essentially find your own solution, kind of working with the various providers who can actually sort of help and sort of kind of come up with an innovative solution that actually works commercially for you.
We moved to Didcot.
Yes. Well, that's one of the options
Can I just say that actually businesses who are in a park or a state or industrial state, actually they have got a landlord to help them. Yes. So they will go to the landlord. It's the landlord responsibility if it's offered as part of the package. So they have got that salvation. It's businesses that are not covered by a landlord and they're independent, or they don't happen to be on the knowledge spine, that are going to be worse off.
Yeah.
And those ones will just, probably by information or accident, will just look at BT as the option because you have to bring the information to them.
But one of the answers is collaborate with your neighbours.
Well, that's the point I was going to make, that in a town centre like Wantage, you know, I think broadband's quite important, but it's never going to be high on my list of priorities. But it is important, and if there are 100 businesses where we all feel the same, that we recognise that increasingly we're going to be doing stuff on the cloud, and we need more access to more data, instead of just putting up with it, we've got to start to collaborate. But if we do that, are we going to get anywhere?
Surely you've got the problem there, because I'm town centre as well, of course.
Yeah.
And the problem is, yes, most people think very tactically about their business day to day. This is a strategic decision, but based on what? Because actually all we've spoken about is the solution to a problem that most businesses haven't even got to grips with yet. So they don't know what they're answering. They're being told they need broadband, but they don't really know what the question is that they're trying to solve by the use of broadband. So until we've got them thinking about what broadband is good for them, what it's going to offer them, they've got no reason to go to attend this meeting or go, yes, we need broadband. So we're sort of looking at it the wrong way. We're saying, here's the solution. What was the problem? You know, they haven't got to grips with the problem yet.
We work with a town up in Rutland called Uppingham, which I guess is pretty similar to Wantage, I would think, in terms of sort of scale and time. And they've been pushing us into building network there because they see it as the future of the town centre.
Yeah.
They see you cannot get young businesses to move into the town other than retail if you don't have a 21st century communications infrastructure. It's exactly the same issue as a business model. If you want that next game designer or the next software developer or the next financial services person to move into your town, and you don't have top quality infrastructure, they won't move in. And then who the hell goes and spends money in the shop? There's nobody there.
So how do you explain that to the retailers? So there's the retailers, and we're saying, you need this because these guys won't come in. But actually, we're not telling them that. We're just telling them they need broadband. But we're not really telling them why. We're not going like that and saying, this is why you need them, this is the down play.
And you can see that on a much bigger scale in Google's amazing gigabit city projects in America with masses amounts of PR, almost zero delivery. They've got literally thousands of cities in America desperately saying to Google, come and build a network in our city next. Now the interesting byproduct is that it's actually made AT&T and Verizon to really lift their game. So Google, without actually having to build more than the one they've done, that all of a sudden Verizon and AT&T have gone, oh well, we're going to build fibre networks in these cities as well. Whereas before they've been saying there was no business case.
Chuck, we had a question, sir.
Yeah, I wish it was just as simple as it just be a landlord's problem, because I'm a landlord of 14 business parks, and I have one at Chipping Norton, and surprise, surprise, there is no problem there. It's quite a small business park in comparison to some others, but there's obviously a lot of important people living in Chipping Norton, so the problem gets solved. Conversely, we have a much bigger business park that some people may know called Trivenham 100 out on the A420. And there, we're in Oxfordshire as a postal district, as a district to fall under the Vale, but we're a Swindon postcode and we have some Swindon crossover. And, you know, how the hell does the landlord solve that? You know, because we're torn between two areas there. And some of the others that we've got, you know, we have very good connections on it. But the Shrivenham one, we have spent, I would think, in terms of hours and probably weeks trying to solve the problem and talking to lots of different people within BT, within other areas, and including some of the people here tonight. And we still don't have a solution. When we bought the site in 1986, it was just a mass of concrete, nothing happening there. It's now probably a considerable, it's a 20-acre site, so it pays a lot of business rates across to the local authority, and I haven't heard anybody from the local authority try and help us with it. And you know, if it doesn't succeed in solving the problem, some of those business rates may disappear. You know, that's the problem. So it isn't just a landlord's problem.
No, it's a fair point.
And it's not that we don't care, and it's not that we don't want to solve the problem. How much time can we give to it?
Sorry, there is an alternative that people don't normally recommend, but if you go look at a company called Broadband Anywhere, they offer satellite broadband to real remote places. Now, satellite broadband is not the be-all and end-all, but if you've got broadband problems and you need them for multiple places, 50 quid a pop a month for a 20 meg download circuit. The problem is when you want to transfer files, but it works.
Sorry, just take it on. Just take it on a stage. We've got some fairly big companies there, some of which have international needs and all the rest of it. Some of which have government contracts, and they are buying. They have spent hours and days and weeks trying to find the right solution as well. And so we're all trying to work together to find it for a common cause. There is heavy fibre there because of the military college that exists there. It always has been. But trying to get someone to help solve the problem is because the exchange, which is not very far from the site in Shrivenham, is an high priority, we're told. We've lobbied Mr. Vasey and all the rest, so we're not sitting on our backsides doing nothing and thinking it's somebody else's problem. We're trying to solve it, but that's the point I'm trying to make. It's a real problem that is, I know there are other landlords here tonight that have obviously had the same experience.
This is probably a really inflammatory point to make, sorry, sir, because as a business that's located on various parts across the UK and elsewhere, and I'm asking this as a question, I'm not trying to light touch paper here, but sometimes I think of the landlord situation, just think, well, if the toilets were a bit of a mess, or the road was a bit knackered, you'd probably fix that. As the tenant, I would expect you to fix that. Why is broadband different? Why would you not say it's a commercial proposition? So if you don't pay to get it broadbanded appropriately, you'll just lose customers. In the same way that if you took the roof off, that you wouldn't get customers either. Is that? I know it's a really naive way of looking at it, but is that not? That's how I would look at it. As a customer of yours, you should pay to make it.
Well, let's take it another way. If someone could go to a business park and they can get super fast broadband for £40 a month or something, why are they going to come to a business park where they've got to pay £1,400 a month or something from the same kind of service? And that does exist. And I have put my own systems in. On another site that we own near Reading, we had a similar situation. We had to bring in our own bearer. We had to put blow fibre into all the units, 20 odd units, and sell it out. And then you have to admit, we don't want to be administering. No. It's not what we do.
So the cost of
we're there to build buildings and let them.
So you have to pass that on to your customer, and it then becomes unaffordable.
And then you have to buy a certain amount of bandwidth, and then you have to sell it. And sometimes if you haven't sold it, or you ended up picking it up. Okay, there are other guys here tonight who are going to tell me we should be using them, but they didn't exist. Well, sorry, they weren't apparent to me when I did it 5 or 6 years ago. I did this 5 or 6, and I was told it was fairly innovative at that time for a developer to do it.
This is quite kind of recent.
And at the end of the day, it's a huge problem. But as I say, it's not fair that somewhere like Chipping Norton should have so much special attention. I'm not complaining because we've got businesses there that are happy. But why is that? Whereas you've got a much bigger site, not that far away, and we're struggling to get the same level of attention.
It's just arbitrary, and I mean, to be honest, from my perspective, I actually am not kind of worrying about trying to persuade governments or whatever to actually try and come up with some kind of fair approach, because trying to remove that is actually such a long-term perspective, such a long-term issue. And when there are kind of potential solutions where you can actually basically just invest just kind of time and effort and some money in actually sort of doing that, it's certainly as we did up at St. Bicknell Park Farms and it's sort of done in other locations. But it is something that's come out sort of relatively recently. I mean, at Bicknell Park Farms, what we did is one of the tenants on site already has it actually blinked and actually decided to pay for these line connections. So what we did is upgrade that from the 10 megabits to the 400 megabits, and so that actually took a significant amount of cost out of the equation, because you won't have to pay those initial installation charges, excess construction charges, etc. And that it just actually helped the kind of economics work.
What we're doing actually though is we're taking on the financial liability So that's the difference. Rather than expecting the landlord to fund the cost of the main there and the fibre and all that kind of thing, we're actually funding that now for business parks.
Yeah, but that didn't exist
It
4 or
didn't.
5 years ago.
Absolutely. The problem you had is that it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So this is a fairly recent thing to us. The last 2 or 3 years we've been doing this. We've now got more of the works, but one of the key differences is that it's our liability. Your tenants become our customers. It doesn't have to work that way. Actually, we've got sites where the landlord has liability and we effectively wholesale the whole lot and the management of the whole lot to the landlord. But actually, we're seeing a real appetite for just you deal with that.
You take the risk of
Yeah.
actually your customer.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. It's not your business. It's actually providing those
Yeah.
kind of services and monthly billing to tenants. So actually, having something like
It's quite a
STO
choice then as well.
who actually deal that.
Well, when I did it, I was told there was only people like Seagrove doing it. It was very front end stuff. But it's not really what you want to be doing as a landlord.
Absolutely. It's your model is very much kind of a capital type model, an investment model, whereas this is much more kind of recurrent expenditure. So yes, you're right. We're kind of keeping the two sort of separate.
It's also trying to understand it all. I mean, I don't claim to be an expert, that's for sure.
Well, we don't want to sort of advertise myself. That was actually why sort of landlord equipment pop on actually retained me, is because of that kind of knowledge to act as his agent to actually make sure he had this kind of full understanding of what was available on the market and to recommend what the best solution was for it.
Out of interest, looking at the Shriven law, is that where Gigaclear could go in for the whole of Shriven, in the business park? So if there's an appetite there with the rest of Shriven,
Yes.
that could be a solution as well.
Very good. David, do you have another question?
Can I just take this? I was quite surprised to come in that the town centres was a problem, but I live in a small village that's got 29 houses, and there's 5 people in that village that work from home and need an internet connection to run a business, whether it's a video production company, a web-based business, or whatever. And we're lucky to get 1 megabyte. During the time.
We have neighbours.
Yeah, and it's because, but 2 of those people are actually moving out of the village now. Because and this is actually, I can see this in a few. Houses are going to lose value because of, and it's going to be on the estate agent things. This is how much of a connection speed you've got. If it doesn't become equal, I know it's saying a small village which is a mile away from the next one only got 20 houses, it's not economically viable to put it in, but it will have a real knock-on effect. Thousands of villages around the country.
I can remember sort of 10 years ago when broadband first came up onto the radar, and we were trying to get broadband, but it was affecting the Stanford Exchange, the Appleton Exchange. There was a lot of house building programs going on, and people just weren't buying houses. They weren't interested unless there was broadband at the exchange. And that was just broadband, like you said, now it's the connection speed.
Yeah.
Connection speed.
Just taking that point on the commercial property side, people used to love energy vault certificates.
Yeah.
Still do actually, including myself. But also think that and broadband.
It's commercial value.
It's now actually higher up
Yeah.
because corporate responsibility and all these sorts of things, and looking at their energy bills.
Mm.
EPCs. I still don't understand how they're set up, quite frankly, and it's still a bit of a nonsense.
But the principle
But nevertheless, you look at the band,
buying value.
and one of the first questions I go to ask is, what's the broadband?
Yeah.
What's the energy efficiency? And it's up there together with lots of other, how many sandwich bands do you get? It's
exactly.
right up there.
Yeah.
And those are the issues which I think we all need to face.
Completely agree. Good. Almost on time, Matthew. There you go.
Very good, Stuart. Well done.
So, well, thank you very much, everyone.